What's up, guys? This is Matt, and today I'm going to be playing the second little tutorial of Liberal Crime Squad. We started this series, the last video, we created a character, Peter Monroe, and he's going to be the founder of the Liberal Crime Squad. Now, in this video, this also is going to be a bit of a tutorial. I'm going to explain the interface of this game, how to use it, so that when we actually start our adventure, you'll be able to follow along, you'll understand what I'm doing, why I'm hitting the keys that I'm hitting, and the options that you have and how to do it, because this game can get a little confusing, but once you understand it, it comes very easy, very similar to Dwarf Fortress. Once you know what you're hitting and you know your way around the keyboard, it's a really fun game. So I'm going to show you that in this video, just show you a couple basic things that you can do and kind of the things that are going to be the framework for what we do in the future. So that's going to be checking the skills of the members of the Liberal Crime Squad. I'll show you how to see each biography, so you'll be able to tell what skills they have the most experience in, as well as just checking their general characteristics. And I'll also show you how to go about moving around a map, and traveling throughout the game, as well as we're going to probably try to enlist one or two new members, and maybe we might even release some oppressed workers and have them join us as well. So I just sit back and, if you haven't already downloaded the game, go ahead and do that maybe before you watch this video. And maybe throughout this, you can pause it and try to copy or emulate the things that I had done in the video. I'll make sure that I put a link to download it down in the description. If you're not really sure how to do it, just once you download the file, unzip it and then place that folder wherever you want it, and you'll see, I believe it's just called Crime Squad. That'll be the executable file, and you'll be able to play the game. Once you start playing within that folder, you'll also see a save. I think it's like save.dat or something. You delete that'll delete the saved game, and that's how you can start a new game. Now, I did exit out of the game after I created our characters, so you'll see now when I start the game up, it'll actually, we don't have a slogan yet, which we can come up with in this while we're playing, and it'll just tell us some things that we've done, and we haven't done anything yet. We haven't indoctrinated anyone, no one's been martyred, we haven't been taxed anything, we haven't spent anything, and we haven't killed or kidnapped any conservatives. So here we are. I'm going to make sure I'm clicked on the game this time, and I'm just going to press, it doesn't matter what you press, but I'm going to press enter, and this is the main screen. This is where the game is really going to take place. The first thing, I was pointing a couple things out in the last video, so I'll just go through them again. This top left is going to tell you where you are right now. Now, you have to remember that this is telling you where this squad is. Right now, we're controlling the Liberal Crime Squad. Later on in the game, or even right now if you wanted to, you can create another squad. And so this location stamp up here is telling you where this squad is located. Right now, we only have one, and we are at the homeless shelter. Of course, the date will never change based on squad, but every time we press the letter W to wait a day, we're going to go one day into the future. And you play as long as you want. You could probably play into the year 2050. I don't know, really. I don't think it stops. I'm sure things happen at certain intervals, but you'll just play until you're able to get the laws over to the left side of the spectrum. Laying low. Right now, this is telling us what we're doing. Peter Monroe, the founder of the Liberal Crime Squad, is laying low. He's not doing anything. He doesn't have anything planned to do today. We also have our money. Now, within the Liberal Crime Squad, you could have members of that squad. And so when you make a new squad, so you could divvy up all of your, I guess, liberal terrorists. You can have, 3 in one squad, 1 in another. You could have 3 in a third one. You could have quite a few squads. So right now, this is listing who's in the Liberal Crime Squad. And of course, because that's our only squad and we only have one member, Peter Monroe is listed here. So it'll say code name in case you nickname them anything else, tell you their overall skill, what they're holding, what kind of weapon. Weapon would also include guitar, spray paint, crowbar, which would be used I'm drawing a blank. You can earn liberal money. You can go stand on a street corner, play guitar. You can spray paint. You could go do graffiti and put the Liberal Crime Squad logo on walls, which will raise your notoriety as well as your character's juice. And with the crowbar, you could use it to break into apartments if you don't have a lockpicking skill and if you're not strong enough to kick the door down. Your armor is going to list whatever clothes you're wearing. And like I said, this is where if you want to go into a genetic laboratory, if you put on a white lab coat, you'll be able to blend right in. Health, green is good. We have liberal health. If we were bruised, it would say bruised or badly bruised or I think maybe fatally wounded. I don't know how far it goes until you're dead. And then transport. Right now we're on foot. We don't have a car. So that's kind of a rundown of what's going on here. And I'm not going to explain any of the other buttons right now, how to change the location or change the squad, because we only have one. So I think really what we want to do is learn, this I think is the most important menu, is the R menu. Review the assets and form squads. Because this is where you can see all of your Liberal Crime Squad members. So we're going to hit the letter R. It does not have to be capital. It's not case sensitive. You're just going to see everything as a capital letter. So we're going to press the letter R, and it brings up the review, that screen that I just told you about. All right. And forget about this letter A for a second. The letters 1 through 8 give you some options. The number 1 will show you all of your active liberals. Number 2 will show you any hostages that you have and where you're keeping them and probably their status. I don't know. 3 will show you hospital, because if someone gets hurt, they can go into the hospital and they're not useful again until they leave the hospital. 4 will show you the justice system in case anybody has been arrested. Number 5 is sleepers. You can have, actually, I believe we do have a sleeper based on one of the questions we answered. And they're people that are they're kind of part of the Liberal Crime Squad, but they can't actually do anything as far as raising money and traveling around. They go to their job every day, but they can feed you information from the inside. Or in this case, I believe we have a lawyer as a sleeper, and that she can also function as our lawyer if someone was to be arrested, because in this game, if you're arrested, you do have to pay for a lawyer. And 6 will show us the dead, and 7 will show us the away. So you kind of get the idea. 8 is an awesome one. I always forget about it. It lets you move your equipment around, because if you have a spray paint can at one of your safe houses, but the Liberal Crime Squad member you want to give it to is in another safe house, rather than having to move him, you can review and move the equipment right from this screen. And I always tend to forget about that one. Now, the letter A. This is going to show us who is just in this squad, the Liberal Crime Squad. And once we were to make new squads, as you can see here, if you press the letter Z to make a new squad, that would then be assigned to the letter B, and so on. So this top part of the menu would actually get bigger. So right now, you could either hit the letter A or the number 1. For right now, it doesn't matter, because we're going to look at Peter Monroe and his statistics. So I'm going to press the number 1 for active liberals. Okay? And we only have one member, but active liberals will show everyone, and it'll just go down the alphabet. So Peter Monroe is right now letter A, and you see where he is, and the same kind of stuff you saw on the first screen. And if we press the letter A, it'll actually pull up his little biography. And here we go, profile of a liberal. Peter Monroe, he's a civilian. He was a high school dropout. He was born October 16th of 1984, and he's 24 years old, male. And then it goes through, you have some statistics. His heart is 11. Heart is your liberal attribute. He has intelligence of 7, and wisdom, which is the conservative attribute, is only a 1. The higher the conservative attribute, probably the less reliable that person is going to be. So you want to be careful with that one. I have a health of 9, and agility of 10, strength of 5, charisma of 6. You get the idea. I have no weapons. I have on just plain clothes, and I'm on foot. I have 0 recruits out of a maximum of 6. And I have 1 romantic interest. And here it's going to give you an idea of some of my top skills. For instance, my highest skill is persuasion. Right now I have persuasion level 3. My maximum at the moment is a level 6. The maximum can change in the future based on your juice level. This is kind of just your overall level. And you'll see we hit our next level at level 10. And I believe once we hit level 10, maybe some of these will take a bump. Something here might take a bump. You might be able to recruit a 7th member. And the maximum of your skills goes up. And that's based partly on how you answered the questions at the beginning of the game, what kind of person you are. Now, this is just your top skills, but there are many skills in the Liberal Crime Squad. So if I was to hit the down arrow, just the arrow on the keyboard, let me try the number 2 on the numpad, the down. Yeah, that works. No, that doesn't work. So go to A, just hit down on the arrow. And here is a list of all of the skills in Liberal Crime Squad. You see we have martial arts and club and pistol and tailoring and music and art and psychology and small machine guns. So there's plenty of skills to build, and they are built basically by doing that by doing that action. Things like law and computers and writing you can send your liberal to school for. Security is the lockpicking skill or the breaking and entering. So you see we actually got some points from answering the questions that I had said would have something to do with breaking and entering. And you'll be able to level that up by breaking and entering, by picking apartment building, by the door locks and breaking into apartments. Persuasion, you'll build that up just by recruiting new members and talking to them. And having a higher persuasion skill is going to help us recruit new members in the first place. And I believe there's one more page down if we hit the down arrow again, and this is going to show us basically his rap sheet, any crimes that he's committed, and probably how many of them he's committed. So how many kidnappings is he accused of? How many thefts is he accused of? How many murders? And that's going to show us what's going on there. And then you hit down again, it'll just bring you back to the top page. You're also going to see here's the health, the head, the body, the right arm, the left arm, the right leg, and the left leg, because each part of the body can be individually hurt. And so everything might be liberal, but he might have a bruised left arm. So this will give you an idea of how healthy he is. Right now, everything is green. Now, you can also at any time change his code name or anybody's code name after you recruit them. And you could also fix the gender label, because we're very liberal. And just because someone was born a female does not mean that he is a female. So let's go back. Now, in Liberal Crime Squad, escape is not back, even though in Dwarf Fortress we use escape for everything. Enter usually goes back. So if we press enter, we're going to go back a screen to the active liberal menu. If I press enter again, we'll go back again. Now, the only other thing I could show you on this page right now would be sleepers, because we do in fact have a sleeper. So if I hit the number 5, you'll see that we have Kayla Inking, 15, liberal, and she's at the courthouse. She's a lawyer. And if I hit the letter A, same thing. It'll show us her skills. Her law is very high. Her first aid is high. Her persuasion is high. Now, she can't recruit anyone on her own right now, but possibly if she was to level up, she could. At any point, I believe you can pull your sleeper out of being a sleeper. So I could call her and say, you know what? Don't worry about the courthouse anymore. Come work directly for the Liberal Crime Squad. And help us out on the streets. But having a sleeper lawyer, that's actually a pretty good idea. So I'm going to hold on to that right now. We want her to stay at the courthouse. But we could also see some of her other skills: persuasion, disguise, law, religion, pistol. So not first aid would actually be handy on the streets, but it's okay. We're going to leave her as a sleeper. Now I'm going to back out. This was what I said, my personal most important menu: the review your liberals and assemble squads. I think that's very important. The letter R, you need to know what's going on there. Now, another tab that you're going to use very, very often is the letter F. Go forth to stop evil. Now, I'm going to use this tab, and I'm going to use it right now to show you how I'm going to recruit some new members. So let's press the letter F. And you see we get a little menu. Downtown, the commercial center, the university district, the industrial district, or the outskirts of the city. And those are our 5 options of where we can travel. And within each region, there are buildings and parks and stuff that we can go to. So we're looking for some liberal people. So I think right now we're going to start with C, the university district. The university seems to be surrounded by liberals quite a lot. So if we go to the university district, I'll hit the letter C. We have some more options. We have the Hillard Apartments, the University Hospital, the Free Clinic, the Columbia Genetics, the Bryant Cosmetics, so that's a genetics lab and a cosmetics lab, the Radish Farm Vegan Co-op, this I guess like a restaurant type deal, the Healthy Plan Juice Bar, the Nano Troll Internet Cafe, and the Stockton Park. Now, these names are randomly generated, so every time that you play this game, you are going to have different apartment buildings, and the vegan co-op will be a different name, but it's always going to be the same type of stuff. There's always going to be the apartments in the University District. You're always going to have a vegan co-op. You're always going to have a juice bar. You're always going to have an internet cafe. And these are places that you can travel to spread the word, basically. You can go here to find people. So I think we're going to start off, I think the vegan co-op, that sounds like there'll be some very liberal people hanging out around there. So I'm going to press the letter F to travel to the vegan co-op. And I wasn't clicked on the screen. There we go. So now, don't panic. It brought us back to the main screen. That's not because you did anything wrong. That's because we are now going to the vegan co-op. You'll see up at the top, we're no longer laying low, which is what it was before. We are now going to the vegan co-op. It's still January 1st. In order to actually travel, you have to wait. Normally, waiting would just end the day. If we had not told him to go to the vegan co-op and had pressed the letter W, it would have just gone to January 2nd. But now, because we're telling him to travel, pressing the letter W will initiate that travel. So let's wait a day now that he's going to the vegan co-op. And you'll see the Liberal Crime Squad has arrived at the Radish Farm Vegan Co-op. You can press the letter Enter or the letter Enter, the Enter key or whatever you want. And now we are at the Radish Farm Vegan Co-op, level 1. Now, level 1 would just mean that this is the first story. The vegan co-op, I know for a fact, is only a one-story building. But if you were in an apartment building, that would just denote what floor you were on. Peter Monroe is here, and you'll see that having no weapon is actually a very good thing in this particular establishment because it's a very liberal establishment. So none is lit up green. If we were holding a gun, it'd probably be red because we're sticking out. Same thing with clothes. It doesn't really matter what we're wearing here, so it's green. And, of course, our health, that'll always be green. Now, you can move around, I guess, with these keys. I don't like to use those. I use the arrow keys, but you can do whatever you want. And okay, this is showing us exit, so you don't want to go in any of those directions. Right now, we want to go forward through this door. So if I press down, you'll see I open the door. And this squad is Peter Monroe because the whole squad moves together. So even if we were to have 6 members in this squad, this is all 6 of them, this one word. So if I hit down again, you're going to see the whole word move 1 square down. We're now in the hallway where it's now an open door. And if I hit down again, we're now inside the building. And so that's how you're going to go moving around about this game. And I can just use the arrow keys to walk around. Oh, and we had an encounter. So we have 2 teenagers. One of them is neutral. One of them is a conservative. And we have a conservative musician and college student. So really talking to any of these people would be, I guess, a waste of time since since it's just a video. It really wouldn't be fruitful. So I'm gonna pass it off now and try to find a liberal, and then I'll show you what you can do. And if you come across conservatives, you're more than welcome to try to talk to them or fight with them. But it's very early in the game. I don't want to do that right now. So I'm just gonna keep pressing the direction keys, and we'll just walk away from that encounter. And I'm walking down. You'll see I'm up against the wall now, and I'm gonna follow the wall to the right until I hit the corner. And I had another encounter, more neutral and conservative students. So why don't I show you how you can talk to someone? And we'll just talk to the neutral, since we'll have the best chance of getting them, or of convincing them to join the Liberal Crime Squad. So I'm going to press letter T to talk. And we have 4 options because there was 4 people here. And let's talk to this college student. It's a 17-year-old female. So let's press the letter A for college student. And you get 3 options. You could strike up a conversation about politics. You could drop a pickup line, which is going to be based on your seduction skill. Or you can choose not to talk to them. Maybe you selected the wrong person. On second thoughts, you don't want to say anything. So we're going to strike up a conversation about politics. So I'm going to hit the letter A. And it's telling you, just to make sure that you know who you're talking to, Peter Monroe talks to the college student, 17, about female. So I'll hit the letter A. So Peter Monroe says, Do you want to hear something disturbing? And if you just press any key, it'll go on from there. College student responds, what? And Peter Monroe says, despite our progress, this society is still strangled by its continuing legacy of racial discrimination and inequality. And the college student says, Gadzooks, something must be done. And so after more discussion, the college student agrees to come by later tonight. So that was actually a successful encounter. That college student was interested in what we were saying, and now we have a meeting set up for later tonight. So that ended up being successful. Normally that will not happen when you talk to a conservative, and I'll actually demonstrate that now. So let's talk to, I'm going to press A again, and we're going to talk to this other college student who is very clearly a conservative. Let's just strike up a conversation. So Peter Monroe says, do you want to hear something disturbing? And the college student says no and just turns away. So that's usually what's going to happen when you talk to conservatives. But you never know. It's always worth a try, and sometimes, yeah, the neutrals will work. But you got to be careful because their heart might not be as high and their wisdom might be a little bit higher. So we're going to try to find some liberals. I'm going to walk away from that encounter. Here we go. 2 hippies. That's perfect. Let's talk to some of them. They might be low levels to start. However, once we start using them, they'll build up skills just like Peter Monroe will build up his skills. So I'll press the letter T to talk. And let's talk to the first hippie, 30-year-old female. And we'll strike up a conversation. And Peter says, do you want to hear something disturbing? And the hippie responds, what? The tax code has been designed to perpetuate an unjust class structure that is keeping you oppressed. And the hippie says, you got anything to smoke on you? And coughs. All right. But after more discussion, the hippie agrees to come by later tonight. It sounds like she thinks that we're selling weed. So I don't know how successful that meeting will go later. Let's talk to the other hippie. And we ask him if he wants to hear something, and he's interested. Sexism is still pervasive in subtle ways, and women make much less than they deserve for their labor. And the hippie says, that's frightening. What can we do? So this hippie was interested in meeting as well. So now we have 3 meetings set up for later tonight. So I'm just going to go ahead and leave the co-op. I'm going to walk back over to the entrance. And once the squad touches any of these exit squares, we will leave this map. And here we go. It brings you right into meetings because these happen at the end of the day. Because we had waited a day and we went to the vegan co-op. Now, before we go home or back to the safe house, we have to fulfill these meeting obligations. So the first one is with Malcolm Goodyear, who is a civilian. And this was the one of the hippies. So it says, Malcolm Goodyear is interested in learning more. How should Peter Monroe approach the situation? Now, you'll see that these are blacked out because we don't even have enough money. But one of your options is to spend $50 on props and a book for them to keep afterwards. And that's a way to convince them, especially if you don't have a very high persuasive skill. This is going to be your main option that you're going to pick most of the time, and that's to just casually chat with them and discuss politics. That's how you get them to open up to you and to start agreeing with you and understand you. And that opens up this third one to invite them to join the Liberal Crime Squad, which we can't do yet. And D will break off the meetings. Maybe if you've been talking to a conservative and you decided that their stats aren't what you're looking for, you could always break the meeting off. But sometimes holding meetings with people that you don't want actually in your squad can be a good idea because you're still going to build up your persuasion skill just by talking to them. So let's hit the letter B to just casually chat with them and discuss politics. So it says Peter Monroe explains his views on cable news. And this will always be random, just different liberal and versus conservative views that the computer has generated. And it says Malcolm Goodyear is skeptical about some of Peter Monroe's arguments, but they'll meet again tomorrow. So when it's white like this, this really didn't go in my favor, but it didn't count as a strike against me. Now, if this was, I believe, purple, it's against me. If it's, I think it's either green or blue, then it was a good thing. So let's go ahead and hit enter, and that'll skip to the next meeting. So now we're meeting with Allison Rutherford, and this is the other hippie that we spoke with. And we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to casually chat. And Peter Monroe explains his views on genetic research. Allison Rutherford found Peter Monroe's views to be insightful. They'll definitely meet again tomorrow. So you'll see the blue was the good thing. This was a strike in our favor, and we're one step closer to being able to invite Allison Rutherford to join the Liberal Crime Squad. So if I press enter, we'll skip through to the next meeting, and this is Haley McLaughlin. I guess that's how you would pronounce it, the college student. And this was, I believe she was a neutral. So let's go ahead and talk to her. And I explained my views on taxes. Oh, and Peter Monroe comes off as slightly insane. This whole thing was a mistake. There won't be another meeting. So that was kind of a toss-up. Well, I wasn't even going to originally talk to her because she was neutral. And it turned out the way I thought it would. She wasn't convinced. My persuasion skill was not high enough. She wasn't really into it. So if I press the letter enter, that's it. We're done with the meetings, and we're back at the homeless shelter, and it is now January 2nd of 2009. We don't have any more people in our squad. It is still just Peter Monroe on his own. Now, just because I said the first 2 videos were going to be a tutorial, even though we haven't got any new members to the Liberal Crime Squad, I'm going to show you how to activate your liberals. So we can activate Peter Monroe. So if I press the letter A, you'll get a list of all the members of your Liberal Crime Squad. Right now we only have Peter Monroe. So if I press the letter A again, it'll select him. And we get some different options. You can engage in liberal activism. And actually, if I hit A, it'll give you some options, some further options. We can do community service, liberal disobedience, graffiti, search the opinion polls, we can hack, or we can write to a newspaper. If you press B, you have some legal fundraising options. We can solicit donations, sell tie-dye t-shirts, sell portrait sketches, or play street music, which you would need a guitar to do that. We can do some illegal fundraising. If we press the letter C, we could sell brownies, which there are probably some fun brownies, prostitution, or steal credit card numbers. You also have the option to make or repair clothing. And actually, the higher your tailoring skill, when you actually hit to make clothing, you'll see that there's lots of things you can make. Trench coats, work clothes, servant uniforms, expensive suits and dresses, clown suit, jumpsuit. What else do we have? Toga, Navy SEAL, stealth armor, Army body armor, tactical SWAT armor. So you can get some nice stuff if your liberal has the high enough skill. You could heal liberals, which will not heal yourself, but it will perform first aid on other liberals that might be hurt. We could try to steal a car rather than buy one. And if you have a high enough teaching skill, we could actually teach things like writing and computers to other liberals. This 10 to conservative hostage will only light up if you have a hostage. You can send them to learn, which I don't remember if you have to pay for it. Yeah, $60 a day. But just in case you want to get one of your different skills up, such as law or psychology, or if you press 6, it'll bring up some more. You can get up your driving skill or your fighting skill or gymnastics or writing. So it'll go through some different things that you can do. You can also equip him or hit X to tell him to do nothing for now, which that's what we're going to do. And I'll hit enter to go back. And to give you an idea of how to continue with the meetings, since we have 2 meetings set up already, we want to enlist people for our Liberal Crime Squad. Let's just go ahead and have the meetings. Let's not send Peter Monroe anywhere. Let's just wait a day to skip forward to January 3rd. But of course, before the end of the day, we're going to have our meeting. So if I wait a day, we're going to have that meeting with Malcolm Goodyear again. And we're going to just casually chat. You'll see, since we had the first meeting, we learned a little bit about him. He's got a very high heart, very low wisdom, and his top skill is throwing, which I believe is a fighting skill. So let's go ahead and talk with him again, and we'll just casually chat. And I explained my views on racial equality. Malcolm Goodyear found Peter Monroe's views to be insightful, and we'll definitely meet again tomorrow. That's great. Allison Rutherford, she's already feeling pretty good about this. She feels something needs to be done. So let's keep talking to her. Let's keep pushing her. She's got okay heart. She got very low wisdom though. She's got some good seduction skills that could be useful. Let's press letter B, and I give her my views on genetic research, and she thought they were insightful. So we're going to meet again tomorrow. And that was a second round of meetings there. We're still laying low, and it's now January 3rd. Let's go ahead and skip forward another day. We'll have more meetings. You'll see we also get more information on their skills. So here's Malcolm Goodyear again, and let's just casually chat. I give my views on free speech, and he thought they were insightful. He had been interested in learning more, so that was good. And Allison Rutherford's actually ready to join. She's ready to fight for the Liberal Crime Squad. So I can keep talking to her to find out more of her skills, or I could just go ahead and offer to let her join the Liberal Crime Squad as a full member. Now, we were looking to recruit someone, so let's do it. Let's press C. Peter Monroe offers to let Allison Rutherford join the Liberal Crime Squad. Allison Rutherford accepts and is eager to get started. So what do we want her to do? Now, this is how you can make sleeper agents, because we can tell her to stay at the Radish Farm Vegan Co-op, which is where we found her, and tell her to stay there as a sleeper agent. Or we could tell her to come to the homeless shelter, because that's the current safe house of the Liberal Crime Squad, and tell her to come be a full member, which is what we're going to do, or a regular member. So I'll press enter. You just use the arrow keys to select. I'll press enter. She's not in our squad right now. In order to do that, we need to go back to what I had told you was the most important. So the letter R. I'm going to press the letter R to review the assets, and I'm going to press the letter A to pull up the Liberal Crime Squad. You'll see that Allison Rutherford is now on this list, but she's not part of the squad. If I press the letter B, you'll see that she is now part of the squad, and you can go through, and I could actually add her to the Liberal Crime Squad, and I could take Peter Monroe out if I wanted him to stay home and do something else. So, but for right now, we'll have them both in the squad. That way, maybe they're both gaining some skill levels. And I could press the letter enter, press enter and go back again. And I probably want to reorder that. So let's go back in here and let's pull her out, put her back in. That should reorder them. There we go. Peter Monroe's on top. No, I don't think it's a big deal. It might be. Who knows? And anyway, so I think I showed you some of the things that are most important. You know how to look at the skills of your members, which we actually didn't do with Allison. Let's check that out real quick. And let's hit B for Allison Rutherford. Her highest skills are seduction, throwing, computers, and disguise. She can't recruit anyone yet, but we bump her juice up, and we'll be able to do that. And everything else is pretty much 0. So they're just those top skills that we see there. That's what she's got. But computers, that's fine. That'll get us started, at least, at the very least. Maybe we can start building this up really quickly. We'll power level computing, and maybe we'll get her to be a hacker or something. We'll get some good information from the government. But anyway, I'm going to end the video here. This was probably the end of the tutorial. Now, of course, in the next video, I'm still going to be explaining what I'm doing. It's just not going to be, I'm not going to be holding your hand necessarily right through it, telling you what buttons I'm hitting. It's going to be more of a let's play. I hope you guys were able to follow that. I hope I wasn't speaking too quickly. If you have any questions, please leave me a comment, send a private message. I don't care. If you liked it, leave a like, show your friends. This is a very fun game once you get into it, once you understand what's going on. And yeah, I guess that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed it, guys. Until next time.